You're sitting at your kitchen table right now. Maybe you're having breakfast. Maybe it's lunch. There's something on your plate that you've eaten every single day this week. You didn't think about it. You didn't question it. Why would you? It's food you grew up with. Food your doctor never told you to stop eating. Food that sits in every grocery store in every aisle you walk through without a second thought. But what if I told you that 5 of the most common foods in your daily routine are actively feeding the conditions that allow colon cancer to develop? Not might, not theoretically. Are, right now, in your body. Today. Let me give you a number you need to hear. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in the United States. Over 50,000 people die from it every year. And here's the part that should stop you cold. More than 90% of new cases occur in people over 50. After 65, your risk doesn't just increase, it accelerates. It doubles, and in some populations it triples compared to what it was at 45. And unlike many other cancers, colon cancer grows slowly, silently, over years, sometimes over a decade. Polyps form on the inner lining of your colon, small growths, painless, invisible to you. They sit there. They accumulate mutations. They transform from benign tissue into precancerous tissue and eventually into malignant tumors. And your colon never tells you. It doesn't cramp in a way that makes you worried. It doesn't bleed in a way you can see. It doesn't change your digestion in a way that feels like an emergency. Not until the cancer has grown large enough or spread far enough to finally produce a symptom you can't ignore. By then, the conversation changes from prevention to survival. I have had patients sit in front of me, 70 years old, 75, people who walked every day, people who felt fine, people who said, "Doctor, I don't understand, I eat normal food." And I've had to explain to them that normal food was part of the problem. That what they ate every single day for decades created the exact environment in their colon that cancer needed to take hold. Nobody told them. Today, I am telling you. These are the 5 foods. I'm starting with the one that does the most damage. And the 4th one on this list is going to be the one you refuse to believe until I explain exactly what it does inside your body. Number 1. Processed deli meats. Turkey slices, ham, salami, bologna, roast beef from the deli counter. This is the daily lunch of millions of people over 65. A sandwich with 2 or 3 slices of deli meat, maybe some cheese, maybe some mustard. Simple, fast, easy to chew, easy to prepare, and profoundly dangerous to your colon over time. Processed meats are classified by the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer as a Group 1 carcinogen. I want you to understand what Group 1 means. It does not mean possibly carcinogenic. It does not mean probably carcinogenic. It means there is sufficient evidence from studies in humans that this substance causes cancer. It is the same classification given to cigarette smoke. The same classification given to asbestos. The mechanism is specific and well documented. Processed deli meats contain sodium nitrite and sodium nitrate, preservatives that maintain color and inhibit bacterial growth. When these compounds reach the acidic environment of your stomach and then move into your colon, they undergo a chemical transformation. They react with amino acids from the protein in the meat to form N-nitroso compounds, also known as nitrosamines. Nitrosamines cause alkylation of DNA in the epithelial cells that line your colon. Alkylation means chemical groups are added to specific positions on your DNA bases where they should not exist. This corrupts the genetic instructions that control cell division. When a cell can no longer regulate its own replication, it becomes a candidate for malignancy. Every slice of deli meat you eat delivers a fresh dose of nitrosamine precursors directly to the tissue that is most vulnerable. And there's a second mechanism. Processed meats contain heme iron in a form that is chemically modified during curing. This modified heme iron catalyzes the formation of lipid peroxides in your colon, which generate additional DNA-damaging compounds, including malondialdehyde and 4-hydroxynonenal. You are attacking the lining of your colon from two directions simultaneously. The research is not subtle. A meta-analysis published in The Lancet Oncology estimated that every 50 grams of processed meat consumed daily, that's roughly 2 slices of deli meat, increases your risk of colorectal cancer by 18%. Every day. Compounding. For years. What you should do is stop using processed deli meats as a daily protein source. Replace them with freshly cooked chicken breast, canned wild salmon, or hard-boiled eggs. These provide protein without nitrosamine precursors and without modified heme iron. But processed meat is only the first entry, because the second food on this list is something you probably add to your meals without even registering that you're doing it. Number 2. White bread and refined flour products. Soft white bread. Dinner rolls, flour tortillas, crackers, breadsticks, the white bread you use for that deli sandwich, the toast you have every morning, the rolls you eat with dinner every night. Refined flour has had its fiber stripped away. It has had its bran removed. It has had its germ removed. What remains is essentially a delivery vehicle for rapidly absorbable glucose. When you eat refined white flour products, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. Your pancreas releases a surge of insulin. And along with that insulin, your body produces elevated levels of insulin-like growth factor 1, known as IGF-1. IGF-1 is not a toxin. It's a natural hormone. But in elevated concentrations, sustained over years of high glycemic eating, IGF-1 acts as a growth promoter for cells throughout your body, including abnormal cells, including precancerous polyps in your colon. IGF-1 stimulates cell proliferation and inhibits apoptosis. Apoptosis is the natural process by which your body identifies damaged or abnormal cells and commands them to self-destruct. It is one of your most critical defenses against cancer. When apoptosis is suppressed by chronically elevated IGF-1, damaged cells that should have been eliminated are allowed to survive, accumulate further mutations, and progress toward malignancy. But there's more. The absence of fiber in refined flour products has a direct consequence for your colon. Fiber is the primary fuel source for the beneficial bacteria in your gut. When those bacteria ferment fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly one called butyrate. Butyrate is arguably the single most important protective molecule for your colon lining. It maintains the integrity of the mucosal barrier. It regulates inflammation. It directly promotes apoptosis in abnormal cells. When you eat white bread instead of whole grain, you are starving the bacteria that produce butyrate. You are removing the chemical signal that tells precancerous cells to die. Every meal built on refined flour is a meal that weakens your colon's primary defense system. What you should do is replace white bread with true whole grain bread that lists whole wheat or whole grain as the first ingredient. Better still, replace bread portions with beans, lentils, or vegetables that deliver fiber directly to your colon without the glycemic spike. This matters more than most people realize. But the next food on this list is one that hides in plain sight every single day. Number 3. Sugar-sweetened beverages. Soda, sweet tea, lemonade, fruit punch. Those bottled juices that say natural on the label but contain 35 grams of added sugar per serving. I see patients over 65 who haven't eaten a candy bar in years, but drink 2 glasses of sweet tea every day and believe they're making a healthy choice because it's tea. The sugar is the problem, specifically the fructose. When you consume large amounts of fructose from sweetened beverages, it arrives in your liver in a concentrated bolus. Unlike glucose, which is metabolized throughout your body, fructose is processed almost exclusively by the liver. Chronic high fructose intake triggers a metabolic state called de novo lipogenesis, where your liver converts excess fructose into fat. This drives systemic insulin resistance, which leads to the same chronically elevated insulin and IGF-1 levels I described with refined flour, but often at even higher sustained concentrations. There is also a direct colonic effect. A study published in the journal Science in 2019 showed that high fructose intake in animal models directly enhanced the growth of intestinal tumors independent of obesity. The fructose was being used by tumor cells as a direct fuel source, preferentially over glucose. The cancer cells were feeding on fructose. They were using it to grow. And every glass of sweetened liquid you drink sends a fresh supply directly through your digestive tract, bathing the lining of your colon in exactly the substrate those cells use to proliferate. What you should do is eliminate sugar-sweetened beverages entirely. Drink water. Drink unsweetened tea. Drink black coffee. If you need flavor in your water, add sliced cucumber or lemon. There is no safe daily amount of liquid sugar for someone over 65 who is concerned about colon cancer risk. Now I want to pause here, because we've covered 3 foods and I need you to understand something about how this works. It's not one meal, it's not one glass, it's not one sandwich, it's the accumulation. It's the Tuesday lunch and the Wednesday lunch and the Thursday lunch. It's the glass of sweet tea at dinner tonight and tomorrow night and the night after that. 52 weeks a year. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, each exposure is small, each dose of nitrosamines is tiny, each insulin spike is brief. Each suppression of butyrate production is temporary, but your colon keeps a record. Every polyp that forms, every mutation that accumulates, every instance where apoptosis failed to eliminate a damaged cell, these are entries in a ledger that your body maintains silently, and the balance of that ledger determines whether a polyp stays benign or crosses the threshold into cancer. You are not aware of this ledger. You cannot feel it. You cannot see it. You will not know its total until a colonoscopy reveals what has been growing, or until a symptom finally appears that tells you it's too late for prevention. That is why what you eat daily matters more than any single medical test. The food you choose every day is either keeping that ledger in check or adding to it. Now let me tell you about number 4. And I told you at the beginning this would be the one you resist. Number 4. Red meat consumed daily. I'm not talking about processed meat. I already covered that. I'm talking about fresh red meat. Beef steaks, ground beef, pork chops, lamb, cooked at home, unprocessed. The meat you believe is perfectly safe because it doesn't come in a package with a list of chemical preservatives. Here's what happens. Red meat is rich in heme iron, the same iron I mentioned earlier, but in its natural, unmodified form. Even natural heme iron, when it reaches your colon in sufficient quantities, catalyzes a reaction that opens the lipid membranes of the cells lining your intestinal wall. This process generates cytotoxic compounds, particularly lipid peroxidation end products like 4-HNE, that damage the colonocytes directly. Your body responds by increasing cell turnover to replace the damaged lining. Faster cell turnover means faster DNA replication, and faster DNA replication means more opportunities for copying errors, more mutations, more chances for a cell to lose control of its growth cycle. A landmark study in the journal Cancer Discovery in 2021 demonstrated that heme iron from red meat induces a specific mutational signature in colonic epithelial cells, a pattern of DNA damage that is found disproportionately in colorectal tumors. This is not correlation. This is a chemical fingerprint. The compound causes a specific type of mutation, and that specific mutation is found in the cancers. The connection is direct. This does not mean you can never eat red meat again. It means you cannot eat it every day. Not at 65. Not when your DNA repair mechanisms have already slowed. Not when polyps may already be forming that you don't yet know about. What you should do is limit red meat to 2 or 3 servings per week at most. On the other days, choose fish, poultry, eggs, or plant-based proteins like lentils and chickpeas. When you do eat red meat, consume it alongside cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts. These contain compounds called sulforaphane that have been shown to neutralize some of the oxidative damage caused by heme iron. Now the 5th food and the final entry on this list. Number 5. Ultra-processed snack foods, packaged cookies, chips, cheese crackers, microwave popcorn, snack cakes, granola bars that contain more sugar than a dessert. These foods share a common characteristic that makes them dangerous beyond any single ingredient. They are designed to be hyperpalatable, meaning they combine refined flour, added sugars, processed fats, and synthetic additives in ratios that maximize consumption. You don't eat one, you eat 12, you eat the bag, and each serving delivers a combined assault. Refined carbohydrates that spike insulin and IGF-1. Processed seed oils that generate inflammatory lipid mediators in your gut. Emulsifiers like polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose that have been shown in published research to degrade the protective mucus layer that lines your colon, directly increasing the exposure of your epithelial cells to carcinogenic compounds and pathogenic bacteria. A study published in the BMJ in 2022 analyzed data from over 200,000 participants and found that high consumption of ultra-processed foods was associated with a significantly increased risk of colorectal cancer, with the strongest association observed in men and in adults over 60. This is not about one chemical. It is about the combination. It is about the daily habit of reaching for something convenient that attacks the lining of your colon from every angle simultaneously while providing none of the protective fiber, none of the butyrate-producing substrates, and none of the antioxidants that your colon needs to defend itself. What you should do is replace packaged snacks with whole foods, an apple with almond butter, a handful of walnuts, carrot sticks with hummus, a small bowl of oatmeal with berries. These are not exciting. They are not engineered to be irresistible. But they feed your protective gut bacteria instead of destroying them. Here's what I want you to do this week. Look at what you ate over the last 7 days. Not what you think you ate, what you actually ate. How many deli meat sandwiches? How many slices of white bread? How many glasses of sweet tea or juice? How many nights of ground beef for dinner? How many handfuls of crackers or cookies from a box? Find the food from this list that appears most often in your week and remove it. Not reduce it, remove it. For 7 days, replace it with one whole food alternative. Just one. See how you feel. See what changes. And then the following week, take the second most frequent item and do the same. Your colon has been silently processing everything you've sent its way for 65 years. It has never asked you to stop. It has never made you feel the polyp forming on its wall. And it will not warn you when that polyp crosses the line. The only defense you have is what you choose to put on your plate today. Which of these 5 foods shows up in your life the most? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. In my next video, I'm going to show you the 3 oils you cook with every day that produce more carcinogens than any of these 5 foods, and the one switch that eliminates the risk overnight.